Hi again, Mark here from Talkingbass.net. This week I've got another top 5 riffs lesson in which we'll be looking at the music of Iron Maiden and the great Steve Harris. Remember, if you have any other Steve Harris riffs that you'd like featured on this channel, just let me know in the comments below. I'll be recording another Steve Harris lesson in a few weeks dealing with his 2-finger technique and the tricky gallop from Run to the Hills. So if you're wondering why that's not in here, it'll be coming up soon. So we'll begin with the opening riff from the tune Phantom of the Opera. It's from the first Iron Maiden album and it sounds like this. Okay, so this is one of those riffs that actually sounds tougher than it is from a technical standpoint, but the tricky part can be getting the rhythm, specifically the space between each riff. The original recording seems to be quite rubato and free with that gap, but in the live versions it's a lot more definite. So I've used the live version of Phantom of the Opera for this lesson. So we begin on an F sharp 4th fret of the D string, and then we hammer on to the G at the 5th fret. Then we play 3 notes on the B, 4th fret of the G string. So these are all 16th note triplets here. So we've got. Then we hammer on to the C, 5th fret of the G string. And then pull off back to that B. And then we play the G there, 5th fret of the D string. Okay, so just get that bit off first. So when you play this, maybe start with the first finger for the picking, hammer on, and then when you get to this B, you'll be playing 2nd finger, 1st finger, 2nd finger before you do the hammer on. Because eventually, once you get this up to speed, it's just going to turn into kind of a muscle memory thing. So you just want to know that you're going to be finishing on that 2nd finger. So just get that down first. Next we have a set of 3 8th note triplets. So we start here at the 7th fret of the G string, the D, and we come down a G major arpeggio, or G major triad. So we have D, B, G. So 7th fret, 4th fret G string, then 5th fret D string. Then we play C, B, G. So that's 5th fret, 4th fret G string, 5th fret D string. Then we have F sharp, G, A, 4th fret, 5th fret, 7th fret on the D string, and then we just drop down to the B there, 2nd fret of the A string. And that's the whole of that small section. So. Okay, so you want to start out really slow like that, just paying attention to those triplets in there, and then just build up speed. So once we've hit that B, we hold it, and you just want to count 3. Okay, so on the original, like I said before, it's quite difficult to hear what's going on because it seems to be quite rubato. But when you actually listen to the live version, you can hear that they're really counting 3. So you've got 1, 2, 3, and then you're back in. Okay, so it's a beat of 3. So all in all, you've actually got bars of 7/4 there. So 1, 2, 3. So it's just a beat longer than you kind of expect. So you just have to think, hold a little bit longer. So we play that riff 4 times, and then on the 4th time, instead of having that held B, we actually have this ascending line. Okay, and then we're into the next main riff when all the band comes in. So instead of dropping down to that B down at the 2nd fret, it might be a lot more useful to hit the B here, 7th fret of the E string. So you come up and we're just playing 3 notes on each. So these are 6 tuplets or 16th note triplets. So we have B, C, D, E. So that's 7th fret, 8th fret, 10th fret, 12th fret on the E string. Then we shift up to the G on the A string. So that's the 10th fret. So we have G, A, and B. So 10th fret, 12th fret, 14th fret on the A string. So that's. Then the D, 12th fret of the D string. And then we're up to the E there at the 14th fret of the D string. So. So we play 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then we have the D there again as the hammer on. Okay, so we have D, hammer on back to the E. So every time we get back round to the beat, we play this this hammer on from the from the 12th fret to the 14th fret. So we have. And then finally at the end of the riff we play. So we've got E, D, B. So 14th fret, 12th fret, and then 14th fret on the A string. So. You can actually play that without the hammer on. You could just play. It's up to you. I'm not sure whether he's actually hammering on or just picking every note. But either way, they'll both work fine. Okay. Now, on that ascending line, it's worth paying attention to the picking hand. So if you're starting on that 2nd finger, we've got 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. So that when we cross over onto the A string, we're going to be on the 2nd finger again. I mean, as you're rising up on the same string, you don't really have to think like that. But when you transition onto the next string, it's worth knowing which finger you're going to be using. So, 2nd finger when we get onto the A string. But then when we transition onto the D string, for that D there, you're going to be coming across on the 1st finger. And I say this because it might get you a little bit finger twisted if you're playing 2nd finger, then 2nd finger, and then you shift up and you're thinking 2nd finger again. And, it, like I say, you can just get a little bit finger twisted. So, 2nd, 1st. Okay? So, like I said, take this really, really slowly to begin with because there's quite a few things to think of. You've got the little pull-offs down here, you've got the transitions working up. So there is quite a bit to think about. So, start slowly, build up speed, and then you can try with the backing track. Next we have the tune Wrathchild from the Killers album. I absolutely love this riff and it sounds like this. So it's worth noting that the first time this riff's played on the tune, it's actually played with a bunch of open E strings in there. But then once you've played through that riff once, from that point on, it's all up the octave here on the A string. Okay, so that's just worth noting when you listen through the original. So, first of all, that first part of the riff, we have D, E, 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 okay? And I'm actually going to pick every note here. I know that a lot of this is played with hammer-ons, but I actually find it easier with this hand to just pick every note. So, and then we play 4 open E strings. Okay? So we play it 3 times. Then we shift up to this little lick up here. So we have 2 G's there on the 5th fret of the D string, down to F sharp, 4th fret, then up, G, 5th fret, and then the A at the 7th fret. Then we come down those notes, G, F sharp, so 5th fret, 4th fret, and then down to the D, 5th fret of the A string, and that's it. And then we're back into the riff. And then the next part of the riff comes up. So that's that opening first riff, and from that point on we have this main riff. So we begin again on the D, 5th fret of the A string, hammer on, to the E at the 7th fret, and then we've got a bunch of E's again. So we have D, E, 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 and then back again, D, E, 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 D, E, 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 and then exactly the same lick we played before. So it's pretty much the same as that opening lick, but we don't have those open E's in there. So that riff. So this one's a fairly straightforward riff, so you probably won't need to spend much time building up speed, but once you can play along to the backing track. Next we have the tune Innocent Exile, which is also from the Killers album, and it sounds like this. So we begin with a 5th interval on this D here at the 5th fret of the A string. So D, 5th fret A string, then the A at the 7th fret of the D string, then back to the D, so D, A, D. Then we move down to the C, 3rd fret of the A string, and then we hit the open A string, then back to that C again at the 3rd fret. Then we're back up to the D again, with that 5th interval. Then we slide this 3rd finger up to the, from the E there at the 7th fret, up to the 9th fret, the F sharp. And then we have this little 4th interval going on up here, so. And we just shift between those 2 notes. So we have F sharp to B, back to F sharp, up to B. They're both on the 9th fret. So 9th fret A string, 9th fret D string. So. Okay, and we finish on the F sharp. So, very slowly. Then we're just back to the beginning again. Okay, so again, that's a fairly straightforward riff. The only part that you really need to pay attention to is this little slide up here and then holding down this 4th interval and, getting the timing right with that. But apart from that, it should be fine. So, once you've built up speed, you can try with the backing track. Next, we're going to move forward an album with The Number of the Beast, and this is a really famous riff that sounds like this. I'll be starting this riff from the point at which the vocals enter, but just be aware that the first bar of the riff is played once preceding this. So you'll understand what I mean when you hear it. So the riff is actually in the time signature of 10/4 at a pretty fast tempo, and we're playing eighth notes throughout. So we begin up at the D here at the 12th fret of the D string, and we're going to play that 3 times to lead into this first part. So then we have this pretty much a D major shape here. We have, so we're going to be playing chords pretty much. We're going to be keeping that D held down and then playing these 3 notes and coming back to the D each time. So we have D, 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 F sharp, 11th fret of the G string, then G, 12th fret of the G string, and then the A, 14th fret of the G string. Okay, so we're coming back to that D at the 12th fret of the D string every time. Oops. And then we play 3s on this A to D interval here, this 5th. So we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so it's A, D, D. So, top note down to the lower note, play the lower notes twice. So. And we play that 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then we're back into the same riff again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once we've played it once, then play it twice again. So there's actually 3 notes there after that final A, like we played right at the start when we played. Okay, so as soon as you get onto that 5th A at the top, just think we're back to the beginning again, like we played, those 3 notes to lead in, okay? Because it can be quite tricky to get the timing with this. Because it's not in 4/4, it's got 10 beats to the bar. It's not really in 5 either, because it kind of moves across. It's a definite 10. So 3, 4, 5. And then, after we've played that one, we shift down to play the same pattern, starting on the C there at the 10th fret of the D string. Okay, so we have. So we've got the C, the E at the 9th fret of the G string, and then the F at the 10th fret of the G string, and then the G at the 12th fret of the G string. And each time we're coming back to the C at the 10th fret of the D string. And then finally we come back up with the E and the F, the 9th fret and 10th fret of the G string, but then jump back up to the A there, 14th fret of the G string, and then just play it as if we did on that first time. Okay, so there's not actually that much going on. It's that same line, just moved down 2 frets. You just have to remember to make that jump after you have that E to F up to that A. Okay, so very slowly. 3, 4, 5. Now, in terms of the fingering on this hand, there's 2 ways of playing this. You could play like that. So you could play for the For the D, you're playing the second finger, so on the 12th fret, you're playing the second finger there, and then you're playing first finger, second finger, fourth finger for that top line of notes on the G string. So when you get to the 12th fret, the G, you're actually barring across with that second finger. Or, just like I've been playing there, you could play first finger and then third finger for that G at the 12th fret and then the fourth finger for the A. I just like playing it that way because I just feel like I've got more control there. Same again when we move down to the C. And then when we move back up to the A again, I'm just playing with the fourth finger and the second finger. So that jump there can be quite tricky. So what you have to do after you've played, you have to really make a conscious decision to move with the second and fourth finger to a fifth pattern there. Okay, so that can be a little bit tricky at first. You might make a few scuffs like I did there, just, you know, like on the frets. Okay, so with this riff, we're really playing the numbers game. You know, it's technically not that difficult, you just have to remember how many times you've played things. So as you come up, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then knowing that we're back to the beginning with So play it really slow, just counting, getting a nice smooth transition there, and then once you've got it up to speed, try it with the track. Finally, let's have a look at the opening riff from the Clairvoyant from the Seventh Son of a Seventh Son album, which sounds like this. Okay. So once again, this riff's in good old D major, and we begin with a D at the 5th fret of the A string. Now the thing to think about here is the rhythm. So we're going to have a recurring 3-3-2 pattern. So just for the first two parts anyway. So we have 3-3-2. So 1-2-3, 1-2-3, 1-2. And that's a very common way of grouping a 4/4 bar, you know, in eighth notes, but you know, if you're not used to that grouping because it's a little bit syncopated, it might catch you out, and it's certainly helpful with the grouping of the riff. So 1-2-3, 1-2-3, 1-2, 1-2-3, 1-2-3, 1-2. Okay, so we have D D A. So we're holding down a 5th pattern here. So 5th fret of the A string, 7th fret of the D string. So there's that 3-3-2. So 1-2-3, 1-2-3, 1-2. D, D, A, D, D, A, D, D, okay? Okay, so that's the first part. Then we play pretty much the same thing, but we take that A at the 7th fret of the D string down to the 5th fret of the D string. So that, put those two together. And then finally, we move down to the F sharp there, the 4th fret of the D string. Just play that once, and then the remainder of the next bar is all D, okay? Just pedal on that, and then we're back to the beginning. So, a few little things to be aware of. Remember, I'm holding down chords here, so I'm holding down that 5th, so it's ringing out. Same thing with the 4th. And I'm using the 1st and 4th fingers for the 5th. Then I'm using barring the 1st finger for the D and the G there, but then I shift to the 2nd finger and the 1st finger for that major 3rd there, the D to the F sharp. and I keep that F sharp held there. So I'm keeping that third held down, okay? Okay, and this is where you get that real Steve Harris clank. So one thing to bear in mind is that when I'm playing this, I'm making sure that I'm playing over this front pickup, and it works really well if you're playing a precision bass as well. I've actually got the pickup set to split coil on this front pickup. Anybody that knows about these pickups knows that I can choose between the coils. So I've got split coil just like a precision, and I'm making sure to hit pretty hard to get that clank. So. And actually, when you get that clank like that and you're playing a long pedal like that, you can mix up the accents in there by using that clank. You know, if you choose to go, you know, have that 3-3-2 maybe, you can really accent those with those clanks. Okay? One last thing to bear in mind with the picking hand is which finger you're going to be using for picking on the D string, okay? So I'll show you what I mean. When we start on that D there, we're going to play it with the first finger, okay? So 2, 1. So when we come across onto that D string, we're playing with the second finger the first time. But then if we keep alternating, we're going to come back on the first finger. So we have 1, 2, which means when we come across onto the D string again, we're playing on the first finger. So we have 2, 1. So if we played all threes round and round, you'll see that alternating motion between the second, first, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, okay? So that's just something to get used to because you can get finger twisted if you're not careful. So, then on the next one, same again. And then when we get down onto that F sharp, we're just going to be playing 2 and then back to 1. So, and then it's just alternating all the way through. So, as long as you're thinking alternate picking through the whole thing, you know, if you let your fingers just, you know, go on autopilot, that's what will happen. You know, it might just come naturally, but if it doesn't and you start feeling a bit finger twisted, just check out what you're doing in terms of the actual notes there on the D string. So again, this is a fairly straightforward riff, so you'll probably be able to build up speed quite quick and then play it with the track. Okay, so that's my top 5 classic Steve Harris moments there. Remember to let me know which riffs you'd have added in there, and I'll be back with some more Maiden moments soon. So check out talkingbass.net for the lesson workbook, and I'll see you next week.